remember I went through a phase of only filming in this spot for a couple of months, and it feels kind of cool to like be sitting here again. I forgot how much I liked this setup. I am holding my microphone for this story time just because I wanted to get a nice up close whisper, but I don't have my desk in front of me. As you can see, it's still behind me. But 𝓢𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪 lately has been making some videos with her holding the mic kind of like this, and the audio in her videos is always fantastic, and so I'm kind of getting a little inspiration from her today. And yeah, I just wanted to give you a nice close-up, a story time kind of gossipy video, as you can tell from the title. Before we get into that though, I wanted to apologize for the editing mistake in my last video towards the end of my life update. It's like 30-ish minutes in. I have an editing mistake in there that I accidentally left in, and it's kind of weird, so I just wanted to explain why I do that. In the video, I kind of like make noise with my microphone, and it's super, super, super loud. Obviously not meant to stay in the video. I do that because when I edit, to be very honest, I don't have time to sit there and watch the entire 35-minute video. I'm either rushing to edit before I leave for work, or when I get home from work and I'm tired, or whatever the case may be, so I don't watch every single minute of the video. I'm sorry, I wish that I did, but I don't. So what I do is whenever I have to stop and pause, whether it's for background noise, or maybe I misspeak, or whatever, anywhere that I would like cut the video, I make a lot of noise with the mic. I kind of like scratch on it so that when I'm editing, I can see like the sound waves and the sound levels, and it just creates a really high sound level for me so that it stands out, so that when I edit, I know I have to take that chunk out. So that's why I do that, because I know it looks super weird, and you guys are probably like, wow, she's a weirdo. So that's what that was. So it was supposed to be taken out. I guess I missed that one, and I left it in there, so I'm sorry about that, but that was what that was all about. Okay, I figured some people were curious, so. But today I wanted to do another gossip video, but I don't have any more neighborhood gossip at the moment, sadly. So I saw a couple of people that I watch here on YouTube do like work gossip videos. And I have wanted to make one for so long, but I'm like, you know, I love my current coworkers and my current job, and I would never talk about any of them on a public platform without their knowledge. And so I was like, no, I can't do that. But then I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, no one said that I couldn't do a work gossip about a previous job that I had back in college, especially a job that I did not like and was not treated very well at. So I figured this would be perfect. So that is what this story time is going to be about. We're going to rewind to the summer of, I'm probably gonna have to guess, it wasn't 2014, I think it was the summer of 2015, I think. And I worked at a country club as a waitress. And for those of you, I don't know if anyone has ever worked at a country club or like been to a country club. Some of them can be rough. The one that I worked at, just everyone who was a member there felt very, very entitled. Granted, they paid a lot of money to be members there, so I get it, but that's not always easy I was 15, so I had waitressing experience, you know, holding the trays, serving people, etc., etc. But the way my dad's catering company works, you don't really take food orders. It's kind of like everybody eats the same thing, and it's all like small plates that are passed around and things like that. Like when you go to a wedding and it's cocktail hour and they pass around like pigs in a blanket or whatever. So I was used to that, and I was used to like setting up tables and chairs and tablecloths and blah 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 blah. I was used to that stuff. I wasn't too used to taking orders, but it's not that hard, but it's not easy either. So before I even go into the story, if you take anything away from this video, take away the fact that you should be nice to your waiters and your waitresses, because their job isn't easy, and tip them well. Okay, got that out of the way. So this summer I was looking for like steady work, whereas like a waitress for my dad's catering company wasn't like, you know, you work a set schedule a certain amount of days a week. It was whenever there was a party. So weeks would go by where there was no party, and so therefore there was no work. So this summer my parents were like, you should get like a steady job, you know. And I will say this was the first summer that I ever really learned what it was like to make decent money for a 18, 19-year-old. And I was able to save a lot of it, and it was good for me in that way. But my job itself was hard. I was not trained properly, and the people that I worked with didn't like me very much. So the way this country club worked is there was a restaurant which was more populated at dinner time usually, and lunchtime, but mostly dinner time. Within the restaurant there was a bar that people also could order food at, and then outside there was a terrace that was on the golf course that people could eat at, and that was highly populated at both lunch and dinner time. And then the pool deck had like a snack bar, but you could also order from the kitchen. So those were like the four main areas that you could work and like be stationed at. This summer, that particular summer, I worked so much. Like, I didn't have a social life really. They were kind of short-staffed, so I worked double shifts, sometimes like 3-4 days a week, and sometimes with only one day off. So I would go in around like 9, work the breakfast/lunch shift, and then we would get like a 2-hour break. But then if you were working at night, then you would have to come back at maybe, I'm just kind of guessing, like 4-ish o'clock, and then stay until 10. Like, that was like the whole day. I think the most I ever worked in a day was like, I think I got close to 16 or 17 hours in a day once, because I worked 2 private parties. It was ridiculous. And they didn't really give you an option. Like, you couldn't say no. It sucked. Anyway, granted, you made good money because you were paid hourly, but it sucked. And you're working outside in the heat in khakis and like a polo, and at night you had to wear a button-down shirt, so you were constantly a sweaty mess. I lost so much weight that summer because I was constantly sweating, and I was always on my feet, moving around, lifting things. I thought I was so skinny by the end of the summer. It was ridiculous. Anyway, so that's one way that the job sucked, was the hours were horrific most of the time. Then when it came to the training, they knew I had some waitressing experience. I had maybe one day of like shadowing another waiter. I remember his name. I'm not gonna say it, although there's no way you guys would like find him, but I won't say it to be nice. But I had like one day of shadowing him. I remember I followed him around the lunch shift, and my first order I ever took was this old guy sitting at the bar. He ordered like a hot dog but they put like a bunch of like, he like customized his order. He didn't want this, but he wanted this and this and this, whatever. That was my first order I ever took, and I had to learn how to like put it in a computer, and you know, there was no like cash, like they couldn't pay there. It was all just paid through their membership. It was confusing, but that was really all the training I got, and it was a very easy lunch shift, so it wasn't that bad. I didn't learn too much. I just kind of learned how to use the computer, and then that was really it. And then they kind of threw me in and said, okay, good luck, these are your tables. And what was I gonna say? I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh, so yeah, they didn't teach you certain things. So for example, one of my first shifts, I was working the dinner shift in the restaurant. That was like the fanciest place people could eat. You know, it was more complex. It was, you know, people would go out for dinners or birthdays or just taking the family out to dinner at the end of a long day at the pool or whatever. And this family ordered a bottle of champagne. And you know how when you go to a nice restaurant, if you order a bottle, they bring out like the ice bucket and put the bottle in there. You also have to bring the bottle to the family, show it to them. They say yes, you open it, you pour, usually for the person who orders the bottle, you pour them a little sip, they taste it, if they like it, they say yes again, and then you serve everybody else. But they didn't teach me how to do the ice bucket properly, because there's a way to do it. You have to put a certain amount of ice, then you have to wrap the bottle in a cloth napkin in a certain way and lay it in there looking all presentable. I didn't know how to do that, and I was young, and going back now I would have probably asked somebody for help, but I guess in the moment there was no one really back there that I could ask for help. And so I just put ice in a bucket and just popped the bottle in there, and the maitre d', who is basically like the manager, like the floor manager of the whole restaurant, he saw it and he got so mad at me and like went up to the table and apologized to the family and brought me back in the back and like yelled at me and was like, how could you bring this out there looking like this? And I remember saying something along the lines of, well, no one taught me. Like, you literally just threw me in here. I've never done this before. I'm sorry if you thought that I had this experience with champagne bottles and wrapping them in napkins, but I don't. So I said, please, like, teach me the right way how to do it. And he did, and then from there on, I knew how to do it, but no one, like, taught me how to do that. I was also I was much more timid back then than I am now. Like, now I'll ask questions, now I'll, you know, I would have figured it out, whereas back then, I was still, like, not afraid of people, but I was still much more shy and timid than I am now. So I was just afraid to like ask for help, and I would just kind of guess and do it, and whatever. I'd get yelled at a lot. But the people that worked there, the other waiters and waitresses, did not like me. They were all older than me. They were in their 40s, I would say, if I had to guess. Some of them in their 50s. There was like one kid who was in his 20s, older 20s, and he'd been working there for a long time, so he had experience and he knew what he was doing, and he would help me sometimes, and like he would be nice to me, but the rest of them didn't like me because that was what they did full-time, like year-round. That was their full-time job. That was where they got their income, and so they saw me. I found this out like at the end of the summer. They basically saw me as someone who was coming in just for a summer job, and which I was, but they saw it as me taking their tips away and like them losing money to me, because at the end of the day you have to share everything and whatever. And so they were not nice to me. They would talk about me behind my back, sometimes to my face, but they all spoke Spanish, and they would talk about me in Spanish. Now, I'm not fluent in Spanish at all. I wish I was, but because of, family members that speak Spanish, I've heard some of it, you know, growing up, and I know enough to know when you're talking about me in not a nice way, and sometimes they would say it like right in front of me and almost think that I like didn't know that they were talking bad about me. And for a young girl who again is like timid and shy, that sucks. And I remember there was one day, it was very early on, so I still wasn't good at the job yet, and it was the guy who trained me, who at first I thought he was gonna have my back. He was gonna be like my guy, you know, whenever I had a question or if I needed help, you know, he would be the one. And one day he pulled me aside. I'll never forget, we were outside on the golf terrace during a lunch session, and it was kind of dead, and he pulled me aside and he goes, "Let me ask you a question. Do you need this job? Like, do you really need this job, or are you just here?" And I think they almost all also looked at me as like a spoiled girl who just was, again, looking for a summer job, but, you know, wasn't trying to make a living, just, you know, which I guess they're not wrong in that way, but it's not that I was doing anything wrong. I was still there working and whatever. And then he said more after that, basically just insinuating, like, if you don't need this job, if you don't really need to be here, like, just leave, like, quit. I will never forget that, and I tried so hard not to cry in front of him. I didn't say anything. I was just like, okay, and I just like walked away, and then I kind of like cried a little bit when no one was looking, and then I was fine. But I never forgot that, and after that, like, I did not look at him as the guy who was gonna help me out and like protect me and whatever. Nope. After that, I kind of like lost my trust in him. And they just, yeah, everyone just looked down on me. Again, they could make a cappuccino in the cappuccino machine with their eyes closed because they'd been doing it for so long, whereas I didn't know how to do it at the beginning, and I didn't do a very good job. And they would just look down at me and kind of like, they would like talk in Spanish and like go like this in my direction. Like, they weren't very subtle about the fact that they were talking about me. So I went through a lot of the day without really talking to people because I didn't really have friends. Eventually, towards the end of the summer, when I started to like get good, these other younger kids came who they were also college age, and I kind of like made friends with them and like kind of helped them out the way that it should be. And it got better towards the end of the summer. But at the end of the summer, I was like, I'm not coming back next summer. Nope. Because towards the end, I started to get good, and I'll never forget, I went and I made a cappuccino. It was one of my last shifts. I went and made a cappuccino on the cappuccino machine, which is harder than you think. And you have to like make it look nice and look pretty with the foam and whatever. And I made a really nice cappuccino, and one of the guys that used to talk bad about me, he like came up and he was like, "Wow, look at you, like, you're doing such a good job, like, trying to be friends with me." And I was like, "Thanks," and just like walked away. I was like, nope. Yeah, they tried to be like friendly with me at the end, and then the manager was like, "So next summer you're coming back?" And I was like, "I'll let you know." And then I never went back. And actually that summer after that is where I had my internship at the station that I work at now, and I'm still there, and that was so much better. And yeah, it's just in an environment like that, you know, tensions are high, stress is high, you know, especially during like a dinner rush. The chef was so mean. I don't remember his name, but he was this skinny little bald like white guy, and like he had like white beard, white hair, like just like, I don't think he was Italian, I don't know what he was, but he was loud and he was mean. And I know from like talking to my dad that, you know, again, in tensions like that, you know, the kitchen is just, it's very tense. And my dad has worked in many restaurants as a chef where, you know, the head chef would throw plates at him and yell at him, and it's just the kind of environment it is, and it's not for the lighthearted, and I was more lighthearted. I feel like if I did it now, it would still be hard for me, but I could take it. Whereas hated me. It took me a very long time to be good at the job. It was rough. My favorite part about the whole job, the only part that I didn't mind, was working outside on the pool deck. It sucked because it was hot and there was really no shade for the waiters. So you were a sweaty, disgusting mess. But it was easy because it was mostly just little kids and like their babysitters. Sometimes, other times, the kids would just have like come unattended. You kind of had to memorize who each family was, because every member will give you like their ID number, and that's how you charge the food to their account. But sometimes the little kids don't know their account, so that was sometimes tricky. You had to kind of memorize who was who. But after, you know, the kids would come, like the same kids would come every day, and they'd learn your name and you'd learn their names, and you're just feeding them hot dogs, chicken fingers, fries. Sometimes if the older people came, they would get like a salad or something like that. It was easy. And then I would work with the people who worked at the snack bar, which were younger kids, like around my age, and we got to like kind of like talk throughout the shift and like hang out. So that was fun. I enjoyed being out there. That didn't like really give me anxiety or anything. That was kind of fun. But everything else, like when they pulled me off the pool deck to go work like the terrace or something, my heart would start like beating and I would like start panicking, because I don't know, it just gave me a lot of anxiety. And I think 2 summers after that summer, they kind of like reached out, because my dad and my stepmother also knew the managers, which was kind of how I got in there, which is also probably another reason why people hated me, but whatever. And yeah, the 2 summers after that, they reached out, and they were like, yeah, like, you gonna come back? Or they'd ask my dad, like, she gonna come back? And we'd be like, no. And then finally I had an actual reason that I had that internship, and that's what I was doing with my summer, so I had a legit excuse. I would have never gone back there. It was bad, and also they definitely went over the limit as far as how many hours you could work in a week. It was bad. But again, like I said, it was the first summer that I really learned how to like make money. Like, I had jobs before that. I had jobs in high school. I worked at a froyo place for a while, and then waitressing for my dad. I did some babysitting. Like, I had jobs. I was making money. I was also doing YouTube already by then. So, you know, it wasn't the first time I made money, but it was the first time I learned how to really work hard to make good money, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I was always tired. I'd wake up tired. I'd go to work, come home if I had a break for like 2 hours, and then go back. That was most of the time. It was very rare that I only worked the morning shift or the night shift. It was usually both, which in hindsight now, that's so not okay. But anyway. So that was my summer working at a country club. So whether you were part of a country club or you just go out to eat for lunch or dinner one day, be nice to your waiters, because it's so hard. And those waiters that can like memorize a whole table's orders without writing anything down, that always amazes me. It amazes me, especially when people are like, oh, I don't want onions and I want extra cheese, and like and they memorize everything. It's like, how? Blows my mind. So be nice to your waiters and tip them well next time you go out to eat. Think of me. But anyway, that's my little story time. It was a rough summer, but I also learned a lot, and I think it gave me tougher skin, which is also a good thing. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this little story time video. I know it was very casual, me holding the mic and sitting with not the prettiest background, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.